She's Trixie, and I'm Sarah, and this is our Yarn World, a place where we come to share the love of yarn crafts and all that it gives us and what we hope it gives you. We're on episode 100, and on this fine episode, we decided to do something a little bit different, something to celebrate our 100th episode. Together, yes, as we have other episodes on our channel that were just more my mom doing something or stepping in and just letting people, like, I don't know.
You were not available, and I had stuff to show.
So, excluding those ones, this is our 100th episode together.
Yes.
And we've been contemplating what to do. We were thinking, like, are we gonna... I know that personally, I don't remember all the things that we shared together, but I was like, are we going to do like a craft with me episode where we actually do something and it's just more of talking while we're doing it with you? Or are we going to, whatever it is, just celebrate this moment with you guys outside of our normal, every single time we come in, what are the whips, where is our work in progress, the whip. Do we have any unfinished projects? Where are we at with some of our finished projects? Like all the things that we normally do before we just kind of do our normal video routine with you guys, how we normally structure our videos. We kind of want to do something different. And we've done something like this before where we've done tags where it's questions, and we've done those tags, or we were inspired to do our own questionnaire just to kind of celebrate and do something different to kind of make it us getting to know you guys getting to know more about us, or however it was, just to kind of break it up and do something different that week. But with this one, we were just kind of thinking, not only do we want to do something different, but we kind of want to do something in representation of what we love in our craft. And I found this questionnaire. Now, it is meant to be a traditional art questionnaire, and how I was reading it was that it might be much more suited to someone that has much more of a cultural art that was passed down to them by their family, by their people, as maybe a skill set or something that was actually much more maybe traditional or even possibly fundamental in their belief system, or how they felt would provide for them in their their walk in life. I'm pointing that out because I used it differently. I did not even answer all of those questions, and I only answered them in the aspect of how the art speaks to me, or how it came to me, or how, the questions that I feel like I could answer honestly, recognizing that this questionnaire might be more suited to people that have a craft that is much more possibly cultural, and something that was like, I know that like the Amish, when they learn how to do their quilts, or they learn how to do their things, it's something that is kind
passed down generation to generation.
Yeah, and it feels much more, it's heavier set on the culture, or on their traditions, on how they feel that they live their lives their best in their craft. And I feel like I have said enough on this, but like it's one of those things where I'm trying to make sure that I represent. I do understand that that's what this questionnaire is meant for, and I am not trying to act like what we do is in the same capacity as, or the same kind of like, I don't know, not that it means less meaning to us, but much more of like, we kind of look at this much more as like a hobby, something that is also an extension of ourselves and our creativity, but not something that we necessarily felt was required of us in our culture, required of us in our traditions, or whatever. It doesn't have the same maybe weight.
Right.
And so I want to be respectful of maybe what this questionnaire was built for.
Right. And we will not be answering all the questions that are in the questionnaire, just the ones that pertain to us.
Yeah, because of that.
Yeah.
So if these questions are worded a specific way, that's why.
Yeah.
But I thought that they were still interesting, and I still thought that there was something that any crafter might be able to actually answer this questionnaire and be able to still relate to it, because everyone has a starting point, and everyone does start to get a more expert in their own craft, in their own way, and how they do it. And there was ways of this questionnaire doing that I felt was fun, and might be something fun to be able to do as well here.
Right.
So, on this question, it was, what is the traditional art form or craft that you do? So obviously ours would be the craft, and I tend to gravitate towards crocheting and knitting the most.
And mine is just crochet.
How old were you when you first learned this traditional art, or obviously for us it would just be this art form? I know I learned crochet from my grandmother. I feel like it might have been in the 3rd or 4th grade, or no, I never went to 4th grade, did I? Mm-mm. No, I did 4th grade, I didn't do 5th. I didn't do 5th, did I?
No. What you did was you went from 3rd to 5th because of band.
I thought that we did 4th grade, but I wasn't at a beginner's level with my flute, and so I went to 6th grade.
Well, maybe. I don't remember.
Only reason why I'm saying that is because my age with where I graduated was kind of a little bit off with some of my friends, so I'm trying to make sure that I am placing this correctly with my grade. I do believe I learned this once I was pulled out of school and we were homeschooling. Mm-hmm. So as one of my classes, so with my grandmother, so I think it was in between 3rd and 4th grade-ish, or maybe much more 4th grade, and it was, so that might be like 8, 9 years old, mm-hmm. I do believe. And when I was already fascinated with yarn and doing yarn crafts. I did it in different ways, I think. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was like the plastic canvas or whatever it was. I can't tell if I had started that yet, but I know that I was making things with yarn, like the yarn people mm-hmm. and stuff like that. So I was already gravitating to it, to that material, and what its possibilities were already. Knitting, though, my best friend taught me that at a sleepover when she had learned the very basic knitting stitch, and I cannot remember what age I was. I want to say I was either a tween or like, I think I was like a tween, like in between obviously 8 and that age, but I think I was like a tween, maybe like in my 11, 12 years of age. I don't remember, but I think that would be the most accurate remembering.
I know that I learned how to knit when I was a kid, but then other things got in the way, and then when Sarah learned how to crochet, she brought it home and ended up teaching me. So I was probably in my late 30s, early 40s.
It took you a minute to be willing to try it, because you were very, it wasn't something that you were interested in at first, and then when, or I feel like that, or maybe it was just because of how busy we were, because of the life that we were living at that time with Josh, because my brother had been sick at the time. Yeah,
it was a busy time.
But then there was, I remember this, I taught you the single crochet, and you made blankets just off of that.
Single crochet.
And I remember being like, Mom, there are other stitches that are going to make this faster.
I don't want to learn anymore.
And there was nothing I could do to get you to, and eventually you were willing to try, and now you can do many different stitches.
Yeah, but at first it's like, okay, I got this. I'm good. I can do this.
So this next question that we did was, how long have you been doing this traditional art? Or for us, it would just be the craft. I guess if I'm ranging my time from the crocheting aspect, it would be maybe 18 years. Knitting, if it was from maybe my tweens,
So about 14.
yeah, maybe a 13, 14 years.
Yeah.
A give or take. Obviously, I didn't just write it down.
Right. Mine would be like between 16 and 18 years.
The next one was, what materials do you need to do this? I feel like I've become eclectic when it comes to how I have adapted to doing my craft. Because obviously you need your basic crochet hooks for crocheting, or your knitting hooks for your knitting, and whether you're doing things in the round, and whether you're doing double-ended needles, or whether you're doing it in circular needles, or da 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 da. But, you know, obviously the basics might be just the basics, the needles, the tool, the yarn, the supplies, the maybe some scissors. But I feel like over time I've acquired like really key essential things. Like sometimes pliers are nice for being able to pull through darning needles.
Yeah.
Longer darning needles. I haven't fully used that one yet, but I remember thinking when I saw that idea, it was so brilliant, the idea of, because of how big some of my projects are, that I don't just get the darning needle lost in the project if I'm trying to pull the yarn through or something. Like, I don't have my notions bag with me, but there's just some things where it's like, it feels like sometimes it adapts the structure. The things that you kind of gravitate to, where it's like, this is definitely a thing that I don't want to live without if I'm going to continue this craft, kind of comes to you over time. Especially how I've gotten this craft into my in my life, and how it has become a part of you know, my creative expression.
Right. I used to use the boy crochet hooks, but I since have gone to furls. So I have a 5mm and a 10mm, and that's all I have. I have saved my hooks for when my grandkids get older, hoping that they'll want to join us in our endeavors. But and then I've got my yarn in there that I have stashed. I have a stash of yarn from the thrift stores, and scissors, you know, and my darning needle for weaving in ends at the end. So.
The next one is, where do you get your materials? Now, I can imagine for anyone who, like for this, where it's a traditional craft, you know, whether they harvest their materials, whether it's like a wood craft, or it's you know, they're making their yarn literally from, you know, wool, whether it be, you know, like all those things. Like I can imagine what that question could be for people that are answering it in that capacity. Ours isn't that fun. I mean, we really just go to the store. For me, my store in town that I tend to go to if I'm really looking for something specific with variety might be my Joann's. You know, mostly I'd say that. It's from time to time I have done Hobby Lobby. It's not the place I go normally. Amazon if I need to, if that's where, if I'm looking for something specific. We have a local Myers and Walmart that if I see things there, I'll pick things up there. You know?
And then the only other one I'd add for me, myself, is the thrift stores.
Yeah, I don't go there as a staple, but I feel like all of our stores are like in that, like we
Yeah, and Joanne's is my second.
It's where we're at. It's what we have available.
Yeah.
So that's what that answer would be for us. Do you use any patterns or plans in your work? Again, these questions, it makes me wonder what someone else that does actually have a much more traditional aspect or to their understanding or feel for their craft and their relationship with the craft would be like. But do you use any patterns or plans in your work? I have and do. I had to learn. I remember my confidence in patterns didn't feel so strong when I first started the craft because I felt like I was going to get it wrong. And you would think that, the pattern's telling you what to do, but I felt like I wasn't really understanding, and I feel like I was constantly ripping it, having to frog,
Right.
rip it out.
Okay.
And it was so disappointing that eventually I just figured that I would figure it out by trial and error. And so most of my adolescence when it came to the craft was that. And then over time, I have now been able to adapt to the appreciation of a written pattern. And I feel like I still can do both, but I feel like I've become much more like I'll find a pattern to do than just figuring out on my own, because if I really want something to turn out the same way as my inspiration, and if something is already pre-done and pre-inspired, whether it be a pattern that I see, just because I know how they did it theoretically and I can do that, where it's like I feel like I can remake that on my own, I still, if I want it to look out that same way, I'd rather have the pattern. So there's that.
I have tried patterns in some of my blankets, but mostly I just do my own thing.
How long does it take to do a typical project? See, some of these are just, I feel like it just speaks to a crafter. For me, it depends on my mood. I'm such a mood crafter, or even someone who like I just have to be in any sort of like I'd have to want to do it.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with the fact that I don't have self-discipline or that I won't do things that for the sake of needing to get them done. It's just much more of for something that is meant to be fun for me. I don't like to force it.
Right.
Because I want it to be something that I would like to experience and be able to enjoy. And I don't want to ruin my relationship with something that I normally love doing.
Right.
When I just know, when I can just recognize in that moment that it's not what I want to do at that moment. So.
Right. My blankets can take, depending on size, from 1 week to 1 month. So. And usually I'm in the right around 10 days to 2 weeks area.
And that's the only reason why I said my mood is because I've been known for making something in a couple of, I was inspired, I wanted to do it, so I got it done, and it could literally take me a day depending on the size of the craft, or even if it is a big craft, getting it done quickly.
Yeah.
Where it's like within a week or something. Or like I hyperfixate on it and it just gets done in a much more record time because I'm using all my spare time on that.
Right.
Getting it done. Whereas some things where it's like I know how to do it and I have no problem getting it done it's not in my mood. So even though I could get it done in a couple of nightly evening sessions, it doesn't get done because it's not what I want to do.
Right.
And
I usually do it while I'm watching TV at night with my husband.
So someone who does things much more out of base of habit
Right.
would have much more of a turnaround rate like
Right.
you do.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with my capacity to get something done. It's just based on whether I have the energy or is the, I'm in the mood to get something done.
Right.
And Are you known for any particular technique or style? If so, what? I feel like I'm known for making like amigurumi toys, things that are, much more in the 3D dimensional. They're the things that I gravitate towards the most.
Yeah.
And I like it because I feel like with the yarn, it could be made into something maybe a little bit more productive. And being able to do something like this where it's like I'm doing it just because I want to do it, and I'm doing it because I know it will make someone happy, and it can literally mean nothing more than just to be able to make them happy or create a good memory, is like,
Right.
that feels worth it enough to do it.
Right. For me, the question again?
Are you known for any particular technique or style?
I do half double crochet, double stranded, scrappy blankets.
Yeah.
And that's my style and what people know me by.
Yeah. And I think that it was a hard question for me to answer because it's like I don't make just one thing over and over and over again. And not that that's what you do, because obviously your yarn and I know even your sizes are they all different, but they all have that signature look. For me, I don't see my signature if something is different. If the craft and the outcome is different every single time, but it's what you're doing.
Right.
I'm not just making a blanket over and over again, even if it's not the same pattern. That's not what I'm gravitating towards. I like things that are 3D, fun to make, things like that.
Yeah.
Not that.
But that's fun for me.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. Is I'm not saying that blankets aren't fun. It's just what is fun speaks to different people differently.
Right.
How is your work different from the work of others who do what you do? I feel like I've kind of already answered that with it just being a because I'm so spontaneous with how I do it, or it it kind of hits me when I want to do it. It speaks to me differently. Like how is it different from others? Is that when I'm inspired to do something, that's when I do it. That's when it gets done. That's how how I feel like I differ from others, because there's others who are just like, I make a stockpile of this thing, or and I have no problem giving them out, or I have the capacity for making something over and over and over again, and it not losing its spark, and it being such a staple and such a good thing. Whereas for me, it's just much more of like, I'm inspired to do this, and now my energy's on that, and I'm enjoying this. And,
Right.
Because I don't know, it's not always just structured, but it is, because it's the drive.
Right. And that's the whole thing. Mine, since I've figured out my signature, what I like to do, it's something I can stick with. My process is, I just love the process of the thing. So the process in making the blankets is what it gets me, and the color changes and all that kind of stuff. So
the next one is, what do you like about what you do, and why do you feel it is important to continue this tradition? Or for us, it would be just our crafting and how it results. It translates to us, is how we're reading it. For me, it's that I like that in that moment I don't have to take something too seriously for it to mean something.
Right.
Like, I can make something fun without it. Like, I grew up with my grandmother who had made those blankets. They felt revered. because they were a lot of time spent on them and they were beautiful. And so when she would have them laying out or decorated over a chair, I never wanted to use them, and because it just didn't feel like something that you used. It was something that was there.
Right.
And I don't know, I feel like she probably did use it or whatever, but it was also just so pretty, and she also used white, so using it would be something that, you had to be careful with. So it felt one of those things where it's like, in my head, it was not something to be touched or played with, it was something to be respected.
Yeah.
And when I make crafts, it's not that I don't have respect for my craft, but I kind of like that whole, like, this yarn could be made into something that holds that much reverence, or it could be made into something as simple as giving it to a baby and they are able to enjoy it for what joy it brings them.
Yeah.
And there's such an interesting dynamic into how something that is one material can be both not toss-awayable, but something as, like, you don't have to worry about it. It's something, its purpose is being fulfilled in this way, or its purpose is being fulfilled by how people see it. I like how things are interpreted by people in the way that they are with crafts, and how it can, the art is in the eye of the beholder, so it's, the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and how that translates to each person is different. And I just like how it can build memories and can, spark so much joy and happiness sometimes. And
me, it's the color. The blankets that I make are nice and colorful. I have made just plain white before, and that's beautiful too. And the people that I made that for, my son's best friend and his new wife, it was a wedding gift, and they still have it. And so that makes me proud that I was able to make them something that they would still be able to cherish and use. And someday, if is this the question where it's asking why we want to do it for?
Oh, what do you like about what you do, and why do you feel it is important?
Okay. I feel it's important because, Sarah taught me, and I know that's backwards. I mean, she taught her mom, but someday I want to be able to teach, or have us teach, her children. And possibly the other grandchildren, but they're boys and they're more... It's not to say that they won't enjoy it, but I'm not sure if they'd enjoy it as much as Sarah's children would, because they have been brought
seeing
up...
it.
They've been seeing it with me and her doing it all the time, and so they're already interested in it.
And that's the whole thing, is that it's not that the other boys wouldn't be interested in the craft, because
but their parents don't do it.
Well, it's not that, but like, they see it as something that can be done for them, and they appreciate it in that sense, that it is something that is so versatile that you can make anything, and they like that. They know someone that is able to do that. If they were wanting to do it for themselves, it'd be great to be able to teach them. I'd have no problem. But with something like this, where it's like, I have my kids coming up to me being like, so I want you to make this for me, and this for me next, and this, and this, and this. And they like to sit there and trying to figure out how to do it, because they almost think it's magical. How this yarn can turn into something over time with, these tools. And it's one of those things.
Well, the nephews think that too now. You can make anything, Aunt Sarah.
So it's one of those things where, yes, it is important in that way, and I understand how you feel about that, like wanting to be able to pass it on. I feel like that's more applying to the next question. So how about we just read that next question real quick? It's, have you ever taught others how to do this in this context? They're saying traditional art, or for us it would just be this craft. Why or why not? What is the importance of passing on this tradition, or just the craft in general, is how we're reading it. I feel like I said, the craft is the beauty in the eye of the beholder, and whether it's something that you enjoy doing in the hobby that you feel like you benefit from, or a skill set you feel like you would benefit from, depending on how you look at it. Because something like this is, for us, just something that we're able to do to make comfort items, or things that we can do to make fun memories, or that are just good in the moment. And they serve that time and for that season, while also recognizing that it's also a skill set. It's also something that if we needed to be able to make things like, if we needed like blankets, if we needed wearables, if we needed that, and that was the material we had outside of just already made cloth or fabric, we could make our own cloth or fabric. We could make things that would be able to provide something other than just the simplicity of a toy or the simplicity of a blanket, not just being warm, but because it brings comfort. Like,
Right.
there's something to that is genuinely valuable. Have I taught anybody? Yes, I've taught my mom. Have I taught anybody else? I don't know. I feel like I've offered to teach other people before, but I don't remember if I've ever sat down and done so with anybody before. I haven't really, my kids are not at the age where I feel like they will really understand yet, or have the patience to understand
Or
yet.
have the hand coordination to do it yet.
But, I mean, if they wanted to, I would have no problem doing it. It'd be fun.
And I think it's important to pass it on to the next generation. It's not going to get taught. It's something that needs to be taught, even if you teach yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But it's much more fun if you can teach or be taught from somebody else.
Well, not only that, but I think there's a benefit to having something that sparks so much creativity. That it will bring such a level of fun to the table, or just into someone's life, where it's just something that like how we say, can kind of be like a grounding point, an anchor point of something, where it's like you're not just doing nothing, you feel like you're accomplishing something, but you're able to take downtime too. It doesn't always have to be stressful, it doesn't always have to be anxiety inducing. So yeah, our next question, we have 2 left. What is your favorite pattern style item to make? I feel like that's kind of self-explanatory. I feel like I like to kind of make kids' toys, or just figurines, or pillows, and I like to just make the whole, anything that's kind of like a 3-dimensional object just seems like such a fun challenge, and it feels very satisfying to be able to make something that is I took my time to make, and if it comes out well, it's just like like with the Godzilla, or with
the monster truck,
or the monster truck, or the Link when I made,
that was really good.
It's just so much fun, and it makes life more fun.
And of course the blankets.
Yes. The last one is, what makes a good, beautiful craft? They're talking about other things that could apply for. How do you judge a piece to see if it is good? You can, for what we do and what it results for us, I can understand that maybe someone, with it being a cultural or traditional craft, there's true signs as to whether it's going to last long, maybe, if it's something that they feel needs to be done a certain way to be able to last and serve its purpose well. But I think for me, it's like, you can see when it's a beginner that's done something or whether it's someone who's been doing it for a while.
Right.
And I don't really know if I would equivalent that to good or bad as much as just how is the tension of the stitches, the detail, maybe the confidence of the
color choices.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of speaks for itself when you look at the art and how I feel like how you go into a project and how you exit a project, it shows how and where you were at when you were doing it. I feel like I've knitted or even crocheted where I was good, I was in a relaxed state, and then all of a sudden when I picked it up later, because I was anxious, I was making tighter stitches that made that next couple of rows harder because I wasn't doing it in the manner that the rest of it had been doing, or how I've been doing it before. And it's not that that's good or bad. It just kind of, I feel like where the crafter is in their journey with the craft speaks for how it is, and whether they feel that that was just a stepping stone or whether they feel that they accomplished what they were doing. Might equivalent whether the judgment should be good or bad. But no, I think I like to see the confidence or just the details or the tension or the tension of the stitches, or even just how they finish it.
Yeah.
Kind of seeing where they know that they've done it to their full completion. Those attentions to detail.
Oh, yeah.
Is something that maybe you can tell someone who's been doing it for a while takes the extra time to do those few simpler steps than someone who maybe was just like, this is my first time doing it and I just was so happy to get to this point that I didn't even think to do anything more.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense.
And sometimes they just don't know that there's more that they could do.
Yeah, and I think that's it doesn't mean that it's a good or bad thing. It just means that
they haven't learned it all yet.
You learn as you go.
Yeah, you do.
I again thought that this was just a very interesting set of questions.
Yeah.
Again, I realized that we're using them in a way that they're maybe not meant for, but I feel like obviously could still apply to us, and I think that this was still fun. I feel like I've just been the only one talking for some of it, but
we have a quick scripture, and then we're gonna sign off. But it's the scripture is, a man who has friends must himself be friendly, and that's Proverbs 18:24. We feel like we've been talking to friends today.
Yes.
And we wanted to make sure that we allocated this scripture today for this video, and just to make sure that you know if you are watching, that you are part of our community, our friends. And I'm gonna say the scripture one more time just to get it in there, but it's also going to be in the description area if you want to have it for yourself. A man who has friends must himself be friendly. And I'm hoping that as our videos progress, that you will know that we are your friends. We're here for you, and we would hope that you would subscribe, like, and comment. And the comments are really fun, and our friends are commenting, and that's the fun of this. I really enjoy my back and forth with the comments, especially with like Lisa and Jane and Phyllis, and just all my, I'm naming some of them, but it's really fun conversations. I really like it. So, do you have any more to say on that?
I'm thinking of characters from like stories I know where you have the person that's really grumpy, kind of like House.
Yes.
Or it's like he has friends, but their loyalty to him is based not necessarily on friendliness, but on like
On his knowledge.
yeah, but kind of it has. I'm bringing it up being like a man who has friends must himself be friendly. A man who, you know, a man who wants to be able to have people that care must also care, though.
Yes.
And, you know, like I'm thinking about the stereotypical grumpy friend that everyone has, that they have him for a reason. And whether that person just values that person regardless of how they act towards them is obviously on that relationship. But there's also just the aspect of like, there's always such a niceness to being able to see the, when in the dynamic of someone, especially in that role, when the question is, do you even actually care? And those friends have to really actually consider, have we been really kind? Have we actually showed that we care about this relationship? Or do we just kind of expect everyone to take our grumpiness or take our, you know, our attitude all the time?
Right.
And, you know, the reality is that you can, there is just something to that. A man has friends. A man who has friends must himself be friendly. You know, even in those storylines, when it's questioned, they have to show that they are willing to be friends and care.
That's right. So, yeah, 100 episodes together. Mm-hmm. We're hoping for another 100 or more.
Yes.
So, this has been good, and I hope that you guys enjoyed these questions. I will try to get them written down in the description area for you if you want to try them out for yourself, just to figure out where you're at with your own craft. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so this is
and it would be really nice to know, is yarn crafting, you know, how you found us? Was it something that was more traditional to your to your culture, or
was there another craft that you value?
Yeah, you know, we recognize that how we learned it was in kind of maybe a much more backwards way, or much more through a hobby sense than maybe something that was culturally given to us or traditionally given to us in that sense. But just like, do you a craft through that is my question. And if or just in general, how did you come to your craft, and how you know, how does that relate to your interest in even following our journey, and how you met us here, and just all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Man, I feel like I was chatty, but like it's one of those things where it's like when we're doing questionnaires, there's nothing to do but to talk. And so I don't know, maybe it's just me feeling like I'm just hearing myself a lot right now, but I hope that anyone who made it to the end of the video enjoyed this. We really are excited about it being 100 episodes, and we really hope that you guys stick around for hopefully another 100.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, but it's been fun.
Yes.
And we're excited to continue. So as always, we hope that you have a good rest of your day, and that you stitch your way
to mental health.